Yes, yeah.
Yes, it is
Hi.
now live. Hallelujah.
How are you?
Oh, very good. Yeah, the winter is coming to a close, so yeah, Australia is as it always is, but yeah, I mean our temperatures, yeah, the, I can't complain because you live in Britain, and I remember what the British weather was like. I remember walking in snow. I remember the rain. I remember the long dreary days. So I'm not complaining. It's sunny Australia.
The weather has
What's it like
changed
there?
here. It's starting to change now, so we are starting to
Okay.
get spells of little droplets of rain, and it
Ah,
hasn't
really?
been warm at all today. So we are slowly rolling back into the, I think, autumn and then winter, and it's very worrying because when it gets cold here in the UK, it's cold. Probably not as cold
Yes.
as
Yeah.
when it gets in countries like Canada, America.
Yes.
But when it gets cold here, -2, 3, 4, 5, then the British start, oh God, we can't stand this snow. Yeah.
Oh, I know. No
So
wonder.
yeah.
No wonder we
So
get called whinging mums. We always complain about the weather.
no, welcome, welcome, our dear friends. There, give us a wave and say hello. We haven't been on live for quite a few days now, so we are back roaring, isn't it, to talk about these
Hi.
stories we have
Yeah.
missed. Hi, everybody.
It's lovely.
Wherever you're watching us today, I hope you've had a fantastic weekend. Today is Monday. How time flies, Catherine. Hmm?
Yes, yes. Well, a lot's been happening with the Sussex camp, but also, there's things happening on in the homeland of the
Yeah.
UK. So, I mean, there's plenty of royal news to keep us royal watchers busy.
Oh yes, yes, indeed.
Mm.
So the ex-royals have completed or concluded their trip to Colombia. So we've had lots of controversies on that trip. The most recent one I had was somebody echoing in the room when somebody was giving a speech, and
Mm,
so clearly you had people who were unhappy, who thought,
mm,
Meghan, Prince Harry on this trip were there to talk about nothing new than they already knew.
mm.
Yes. Hello, Leslie Handy. How are you for joining us?
I'll turn on the chat.
Yes, thank you
Hi,
so much.
Leslie. Hi.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you, by the way, Leslie? Is that UK, US, Australia? Yeah, yeah, drop your location in the comments so we can get to connect. We've got TC here. British have a good look reaction to weather, too hot, too cold. Exactly.
Oh, I live in Australia. I'm a dual citizen, and I'm still complaining about the weather.
Yeah.
And I know when I talk with Francis, I have to really be. I think, oh, stop it, Catherine. So
Yeah.
I understand what you mean. I
Oh,
get it,
Northampton.
Leslie.
Yeah. Leslie is just next door here in Northampton. Oh, great.
Oh,
Yeah. And Ipika is in Indiana and TC is in London. So we've got lots of our
lovely.
friends here not far away from where I live. So great, great. So we are all talking a language that everybody understands and they know the mood right now in the UK, the weather situation, and how the UK people have been very uninterested with this Colombian trip. It's not even being um, talked a lot here in the
Is
UK.
that
So
right?
yeah, yeah, it's not.
Oh,
People are not excited at all about it. So, but I thought we come on and have a bit of a conversation and just discuss what went wrong with this trip because it got off to a very, very terrible start.
it has.
Mm,
I think I found it really interesting watching the body language
mm,
between Harry and Meghan, and he looks so miserable. He's always worn his heart on his sleeve, Harry. And Meghan's just so controlling. I believe a body language or a lip reader um, read Meghan's lips at one stage when they were on a walkabout or walking into a venue or something. And she said, hanged, it's like, oh my God, it must be an absolute nightmare
Mm,
touring with her and being on display because you can't hide anything. And even that incident where they were sitting down and I don't know whether she was a translator or an interpreter, because there is a difference, but she sat down and he had his arm across the chair. That would have driven Meghan nuts.
mm, mm,
But I just felt that was a little bit of a power play, but it was like, it looked a little bit like his old self too in that
mm,
moment. So,
mm, mm,
yeah, there's a lot to discuss, especially around the security and some of the reactions of the locals.
mm, mm, mm. And of course, we know that first and foremost, uh, they, the the British public and the media
Mm,
here and the BBC had written a statement to say that Meghan and Harry, their trip to Colombia was not a royal trip. It's their own trip, so they are going there privately. The royal family um, has not recommended that trip, or it's not in any way, shape, and form associated to the two.
mm,
So that sort of showed the distancing that was already there between the royal family and Prince Harry himself. And obviously, for Harry, knowing that he's part of the British royal family, but very they've distanced themselves away from him. He's always going to look very um, inconfident, if that word is there, and not too sure of what to do, how to behave there, because everything he was going to do would be criticized or would be pulled down for pretending to be a royal on this visit when they are definitely not. Okay,
mm,
so they are just there to pursue their own interests. But also, we know that prior to them going, Prince Harry allegedly wanted to see the king, probably talk to him about the trip itself, and maybe sort of gain a little bit of permission
mm,
on going about the different little activities, should he come across as, crossing that line. And King Charles, of course, as we learned, his phone was busy, 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 so it was inaccessible. So Harry left, went on this trip, well knowing that, okay, he didn't have anybody's blessing in the royal family, so he had to be very careful what he does out
mm.
there. That's sort of limited, and you know,
Well, it's not
he
an
had,
official tour of any description, is it? It's
yeah.
a vacation, as they call it in America.
Mm,
We would
mm.
call it a holiday in Australia. They were on holidays
Hi,
and was
Sandy.
masked.
Mm,
Hi,
mm.
Sandy.
Sandy's here. We've got quite a few friends of ours here. We've got who else have we got? We've got Live and Let Live. Hello from Houston, Texas. Wow! So we've got people watching us across the
Mm,
board. We've got
mm. Fab.
Keka from Indiana, USA. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome to this live, guys. We truly appreciate. And your thoughts, please drop them in the comments section below as we debate these key issues about Meghan, Prince Harry, and we are going to talk a little bit about King Charles's upcoming trip to Australia. I know you're spearheading those advertising campaigns in Australia, Catherine.
Yes, yeah. We I keep an eye on the government website every day, and also stay close to my local member's office, which just happens to be down the road.
Mm,
Um, as yet, there are no dates, but the tour is proceeding from what I understand. So
mm,
nothing has changed, but it is only Sydney and then to
mm,
Canberra. So they're coming to Sydney for the bicentenary of the Upper House,
mm,
the Legislative Council, and then they're going down
mm,
to Canberra for a parliamentary session. I believe originally he did want to go to New Zealand, but the doctor, his medical team, have advised him against that.
mm,
So, which is,
mm,
but then they go on to what's the summit that they're going to after here? They've got something up. They're actually on the way to a big summit. So Australia is still going ahead, according to my
mm,
understanding. But you know what it's like, though, those dates, people, the media. Uh, I heard a broadcast the other day and they were saying, they would like some dates on that. So
mm,
yeah, people are just asking because we're coming up to the end of August now. Can you believe it? But I'm
mm,
looking forward to it because the King does look good, and the Sun did a report on his. They did an update on his health, a video update discussing his health, and so he's obviously doing really well. But he's
mm.
had to listen to his medical team,
Oh, he
and I
has.
think that would be difficult for him.
Yeah, yeah, he has to, and so we know that they are having that summer break
Yes,
up
yes,
in Scotland. So all the royals are there, and Catherine, William,
yeah.
their kids, they are all up there, and it's a bit of a reunion, really. And there right now they should be talking about a lot of plans going forward for the winter. We had so many
Yeah,
projects there
yeah.
that Catherine was meant to be, of course, doing, including that Easter carol service. Okay, coming up around that winter time, we know that the royal family is always at their busiest leading up to
Mm,
Christmas time. So they should be assessing Catherine's situation to see if she will be able to return for those events, and also assessing King Charles's health situation to see if he will be able to make that trip to Australia, because it's quite a journey.
it's
Okay.
it's a long trip.
Mm,
When I go to New York,
mm,
and I
mm,
haven't been for a few years, but
mm,
oh, it's so exhausting. It's
yeah,
just, and it's a very different country to Australia. We don't have the same population. I mean, it gets our airports and transport hubs are busy, but oh my gosh. And then when from my last trip, oh gosh, my back was out. I thought, my goodness, the next time I travel, it'll be
Alan?
business. I won't do cattle again. But it's so that's what he will be traveling in a in the he'll be traveling in, oh, I don't know, I wouldn't go so far as to say luxury. I don't want to make assumptions, but his travel will be comfortable and he will have his medical team on hand, but it's a long
Mm,
journey for a sick person.
yeah,
It's a
it is
long
quite a
journey.
journey.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So some very, very crucial decisions to make there. And for
yeah,
this
yeah.
trip, of course, they want to be 100% sure
Mm,
that
mm.
he will be going to Australia before they announce the exact dates.
Yes, yes.
So I think once they come out of the recess, the summer break, we will start to have some good information with regards to King Charles's trip.
Well, that's good. That's good to
Mm,
hear. Mm,
yeah, but how I
mm,
wish it does go ahead to happen, because
mm,
it's well needed. The royals
mm,
haven't been on a foreign trip, especially the monarch himself, for
mm,
a while.
mm.
So especially Australia, he needs to touch base with Australia. It is a key ally of the Commonwealth, and we know with this growing window of changes with the Meghan, Harry's, and what they are doing, traveling to
Mm, mm,
Colombia, Nigeria, and taking all this spotlight of, because the royals stepping abroad. the real royals need to counter that. And the only way
Mm.
they can counter that is stepping out on royal engagements abroad, and just to show the world really that this is how things are done, okay, properly.
Well, Catherine knows how it's done. I mean, she's flawless in her poise, her grace, her
Mm,
interactions with the
yeah,
public and dignitaries.
yeah.
She's just an absolute, I've heard it said from commentators, she's the jewel in the crown, and she literally is. I found it really distressing when I heard a report the other day that she may not return to full-time duties. And I thought, my gosh, we've got a king who's unwell, and now they're talking like this. It
Catherine
was really
in.
distressing. Yeah,
Mm,
that she
mm,
may not return to full-time duty. I mean, Meghan, that would just feed Meghan's. That would be fuel for her, and
but she
she
will.
feels she's stepping into Catherine's gap. But there is no one that can ever replace Catherine, and
No
Meghan
one.
can't replace anyone anyway. She's just
Mm,
in a
mm.
category of her own. She's really
Mm, no one. Catherine, I know that story. I read it. I think it was through
yes.
the Daily Mail. Or it was, and the
Mm,
talk of Catherine not returning any back sooner, or
mm,
extending her time off. But we know, we people now have a bit of
mm,
judgment on how Catherine is feeling right now, because we
mm.
saw her for the Wimbledon last time. Uh,
Yes.
and that happened just after the King's birthday parade, and she showed
Mm.
up at the Wimbledon games,
It's
and
wonderful.
she showed up again in that short video
Mm,
for the
mm,
Olympics with her
mm.
husband, wishing the Olympics team success. And to me, she looked adorable. She looked happy.
Mm,
She looked her
mm.
part. She's now more confident, speaking in public. She's got her hair intact. She managed.
Yes.
She managed to travel to Scotland for the Sandringham, summer, summer camp with the rest of the royals, which is quite a distance. She can now mix freely with the royals. She has the confidence being around big gatherings. So I think for me, that is so telling of a royal who
Yes.
is going to be back soon. Okay,
Well,
that's our
I think
hope.
you're right. I put a magazine cover on my community page on YouTube, and it's absolutely fabulous. And
Yeah.
the reason I love it so much is because it's Mexican magazine, and it's quite a beautiful magazine, and they cover the royals extensively.
Mm.
And but in their native language, it says underneath, "God save the Queen." Oh, it took my breath away because it's like the world is really rallying for her. We're all become her fangirls. It
Yeah.
just really took my breath away. I thought, oh, I love that. Because I'm sure across the world you read people say online, I'm praying for Catherine and her
Yes.
family. People are
Mm,
really rooting for her,
mm,
and
mm.
she knows it. I think she's
Yeah.
taking fuel from that.
People miss her. They do miss
Mm,
her a lot. And
mm.
of course, every time Meghan and Prince Harry step out, it just fuels people's thirst
Yes.
for William and Catherine, because they enjoy seeing William and Catherine out, and these two stepping out with their controversies, and people are just so fed up of that. They want the
Oh,
new
so
royals back.
over it.
Now,
I'm
Catherine, of
so bored
course,
with them.
yeah, yeah. And the other day, Catherine, Princess of Wales, of course, and William, because these two work together. We had that this was a story. It came. I don't know if I can pull it up. That story came up and said that William, and of course the office of the Prince and Princess of Wales, were thinking of making an announcement uh, to clarify on Meghan and Prince Harry's situation, to distance themselves from Meghan and Prince Harry's um, situation with
Has
regards
this
to.
come from William?
Yeah, there was a so I think alleged there was a newspaper that wrote that story.
Fantastic.
If I can pull that up, I'm trying to look for it. Yes. So Catherine and William wanted to issue was allegedly about to issue a statement distancing himself from Meghan and Harry and clarifying that that trip to Colombia and many other upcoming ones are just private, and Meghan and Harry should not in any way uh, suggest to people out there that they are representing the royal family. Let's see if I can pull that story. It came up the other day. You know, these stories come up. It's very surprising how people find them, but of course, there's no smoke without fire.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
I wonder if that's come out of, because I did a bit of reading about those Balmoral gatherings, and apparently, when they have those little family summits, well, they're not really little, they're the most famous royal family in the world, but when they have them, they don't even have courtiers or staff in there. They're actually private family meetings. And
Hmm.
I wonder if, and Meghan has made a big deal in the media about feeling snubbed. Oh, well, honey, you left, and you put up the middle finger on your way out the door. So what do you expect? But I
Mhm.
wonder if this announcement, pre-announcement, is the result of that family gathering and get together, because they would be wanting to move forward on sure footing. The Waleses, they don't want any of this dogging them the way it has.
Mm. Mhm. So I'm trying to pull out that story. Let's see if it will come up. Okay, bear with me 1 minute. Okay, is it this one? It was written by the Daily Records. Has it come up
Oh,
this side?
I
Yeah.
can't
Let's
I
see.
can't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here it is.
Yeah. So Prince William curious about Harry and Meghan's Colombia trip and wants to make a statement. I found that story very interesting because we know that the background to it was, the Nigerian trip, which
Yes,
sort of
yes.
overstepped the mark. Harry, Meghan, inspecting guard of honor, red carpets, and these small activities on the side that sort of looked like, oh, this
Mm,
was a royal trip, and how that sort of wasn't well received by royals here. And there was a massive call out of the royal family to distance themselves or at least say something about that trip. Of course, they didn't. The royal family always, takes the silent route. And then we see Meghan, Harry again back on this Colombia trip. So uh, there was this massive urge for clarity, and people wanted, the royal family to tell us that, listen, what is this going on? These two are still being invited as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Are they still representing the royal family? And then this story comes up. And when you read into this story, apparently King Charles again steps in to say, no, we don't issue that statement. Let us take the silent route again on this case, so that we don't give them more ammunition or we don't give them publicity. Because the moment we put this statement out there, trust me, that will give this Colombian trip more visibility. You know?
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Oh, there's wisdom in silence.
Mm-hmm.
But
So they
but
chose.
the
Yeah.
royals are very good at using silence to uh, get their message across as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought Paul made a really good comment here, that
Yeah.
his opinion is that the Sussexes are so jealous of William and Catherine that they've tried to set up an alternative royal family in order to try and upstage them, and the media haven't helped play, because the media love this kind of
Mm-hmm.
attraction. They love this kind of story, and they are.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's dead to rights about the media fueling it. And
mm, mm,
but William's his own man,
mm,
and
mm,
he's not going to
mm.
be egged into a position of making any announcements before he's ready. I mean, after the Oprah interview, we saw his reaction, and the reports later were that he was incandescent with rage over those racist claims. And when he responded to that reporter, and he said,
Mm.
"We are not racist. We are not a racist family." We knew what kind of leader he was going to be in
Oh
the future.
yes, yes,
So
yes,
he's not going to be pushed into making any announcements or statements until he's good and ready.
yes. He always has the right time to do that.
Mm,
And
mm,
yes, of course, on numerous occasions, people have sort of criticized him for being a bit lenient with Meghan, Harry, and of course, this royal family website and the idea that
yes.
Meghan's Sussex.com website is shared
Mm,
on a link under the royal family website. So that criticism is there. Strip them off the royal family website. Why
mm,
are you sharing that link on, these are not working royals, you know when you read into that website somewhere, you see that there's still something like these two are representing or something like that abroad, Her Majesty, His Majesty the King, but they are not. And we think that there needs to be a serious revision of that website to calm people down, because people are not happy with these two. And clearly, you can see that with these trips, one to Nigeria and Colombia. When you read articles, Daily Mail, Daily Express, Sky News, and I like how Sky News Australia have called this
yes.
this trip another
They're really
failed
good.
trip. Yes,
Mm,
uh,
mm,
if you look at the comments posted on those articles, you
mm,
can
mm,
literally struggle to find a positive comment. So
mm,
people are
mm.
not happy with what these two are doing. But we said earlier how it got off to a very terrible start. And with the way Meghan Markle dressed up on this on this trip with totally
Oh,
wrong outfits, displaying her
it's
body and the
unbelievable.
slits and everything. Everything is totally wrong. Prince Harry missed not wearing a tie, and his button is undone. So it's literally he's they've turned up just like you know they are this Duke and Duchess of Sussex, yes, but judging by the way they were dressing, and they didn't really replicate that. And there they were standing beside this
Mm.
vice president who was correctly dressed.
I
And
thought she looked quite good, actually, the
yeah,
vice
yeah,
president. I really liked what she was wearing, and I thought it flattered her, and yeah, and it was in keeping with her position and also her age. Yeah, I
yeah,
liked the way the vice president presented
yeah.
herself. I know she's a controversial figure, but in that
Hmm.
area, I thought she was kind of
Mm,
cool.
mm, mm, mm. And then so we've got TC here. Good to go, my friends. Hi, TC.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for stopping over. And obviously, she's always been here, one of our very strong fans here on this show. We've got Paul, Lini. Lini, where are you coming from? Please share your location with us. We'd like to connect with you. Thank you, guys, everybody. Your comments are coming in. We are seeing them, and we just love your perspective on these stories. Keep them coming. Myself and Catherine, of course, decided to consistently come and call out these two here, but also share news about the royals and how things are going
Mm,
on. Now, Catherine, of course, you had that speech for Meghan Markle at that last gathering, the meeting in Colombia, and of course, she was talking about helping the women and the young girls find their voice. First, in that speech, she struggled to find something to hold on as evidence for what she has done. So, in that area of helping to be the voice, so what she does is she reminds people. I don't know if any of you has watched this advert when I was 11
We knew
years
it was
old.
coming. We knew it was
Yes.
coming.
Okay.
Oh, jeepers,
Yeah.
creepers.
Yeah, so when I was 11-year-old and this advert came up, about the women, and I had to stand up and say no. So she used that to support her claim. That happened 11, when she was 11 years. So so if she could use that and fail to find something that is present, that is current, with the women of today and everything, then clearly there was a struggle to find a ground from which to stand and say, this is what we are doing right now. Then she goes on to talk about how she is helping her own daughter find a voice. This is Lilibet. I said, Lilibet is 3 years old, and I've helped her find her voice. But this is a younger girl at 3 years old, obviously. What does she know that is going on?
Mama, I'm hungry.
Exactly. Okay, so is okay. So she's probably doing what every mother does with their little children, their little ones in the home. But also the point people made was that, okay, but you don't even spend enough time with those kids. All the time, you and husband Harry are flying to Nigeria, Colombia, New York. You're visiting these places. When do you ever get time to spend holiday or some good time with family? And we see you as a family out on a holiday, because those are the times that mother father connect properly with their children. Just like we see Catherine, Princess of Wales, William, they are on holiday, Norfolk, Suffolk, they go abroad, they go skiing. We see them photographs leak here and there. We see them birthdays are celebrated in the open. We see photographs and images. There's that family thing going on. And for William and Kate, then it becomes very easy to convince us that we are helping our children find a voice, and as they grow up into young men and women, and we can relate to that. But we
Well,
can't
Louis
relate to,
certainly got a
yeah,
voice, hasn't
yeah,
he?
absolutely. Okay. But we can't relate to any of what Meghan
No.
and Harry does with their children. And there she was sitting on this stage saying, oh, I'm helping my daughter find it. When the rest aren't seeing it, those kids are always with their mom, Ragland, Doria Ragland, who came in, and, she's now their full-time nanny at home. Okay. So there was a real struggle for Meghan to find something to hold on and use that as the I use that as something that is helping her make that difference. Now, she would have talked in terms of Archewell Foundation, okay? She didn't have to look far
Mm,
away
mm.
to support her claim. She would have said, right, through Archewell Foundation, we've supported young men and women, we're
Yeah.
supporting schools, we are facilitating books and pencils here, we have these collaborations going on. But she couldn't talk anything about how Archewell Foundation was covering that area. And that also led many to say that, well, they don't even think there is anything meaningful going on with Archewell, apart from just being this umbrella foundation or charity that is just milking money from donors, and behind the scenes that money goes into facilitating the expensive life being in New York rather in Montecito. Okay. What did you think about that speech? Did you take anything out of that?
Oh, I
I
did
didn't.
actually. I read it and I highlighted a few things. I read it earlier. I mean, there was nothing new in it. That's
Hmm.
what you're saying. Absolutely. But she is a published author. You know that, don't you? Let's not forget the
Yes.
bench. The wench, the bench, or whatever it's called. But it was actually it was who's the author, Tom Bauer, in his book Revenge, he blew the lid on that whole story of writing to Procter and Gamble because it was actually a letter written because he went to interview her father. He actually went over to to have a sit down with Thomas Markle Sr. and he
Are
blew
you
the
there?
lid on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he blew the lid on it, and he wrote that letter to encourage his daughter, and he said, oh, you know, it went to Hillary Clinton, and this was, you know, all managed by Dad, and Dad um, gave her voice, and it was part of a school project, so she wasn't the only one that
Mm,
was on board with this. And she said, oh, you know, I heard
mm,
these boys in the classroom mocking women. Oh, please, you know, they're just thinking about their toy guns and Legos. They're not thinking about the role
mm.
of women at 10 and 11 years of age, you know. Oh, it's just all just so unbelievable. But it was her father that wrote that. And I think some journalists subsequent to that have
Believe
actually
it.
tried to track it down and they can't track it down and no one will confirm or deny that she sent that letter. So that was the first nonsense and I expected it. But the other thing is too, she goes on and she says, you know, it was I've just written some comments of my own here that I can't repeat, but she says the young girls don't have the luxury, you know, that they're stuck in boxes and you know they're hemmed in. Well, hang on a minute. Her father is known and on record when I'm not sure what the exact status is that's required, but it's in relation to um, your ethnicity when you go to school or you apply for a
Mm,
driver's license or you apply for a college. And she said to her father, I don't know what to put in there. And he said, honey, you can tick whichever box you want. So it was her father who
mm,
empowered her, not her mother. She gives all the credit to this
mm,
mother who has questionable history and it's all appears to have been scrubbed off the internet. But you know, it's all out there. And but it was her father, and he said to her, "You could tick any box you want, honey. You can be whoever or whatever you want to be." It was her father who empowered her, not Doria.
mm,
Doria wasn't even seen at
mm,
school plays. It was always the father setting up um, the lighting. It was the father who was there encouraging his daughter. It was the father who sent a car in the afternoons to pick her up from school and take her on set so that she would be safe and not at home. She wasn't a latchkey kid, despite her implying otherwise.
mm,
So
mm.
it just disgusts me that she can't give any credit to this
She can't.
man who
She
paid for
can't.
her education.
Absolutely, and she there's no mention of her father on that
No,
trip
no,
at all to
no.
recognize the great things he did for her in helping her find a voice because he paid for the fees that you said. He took her to the best schools in town. We don't see Doria coming into her life until much, much later on. And of course, there were questions of where Doria was during that time. And I think there
That's
are some
right.
stories that came up that, she could have been involved in certain, certain
Exactly.
businesses. And at some point, allegedly, she was in jail or, during a good period of time. But she wasn't in Meghan's life until very later on. We are reading up on all of these stories. But she could have talked about that with, these trips she's going on. She would have shown a light on fathers and the
To,
role of men in
sorry to
families.
interrupt you here.
Mm,
She also, if Doria, her, this really needs to be said because of her constant carrying on about her ethnicity. Her mother On the rare occasions she was seen, she was believed to be the nanny because, the old stereotype of the black nanny, and she never did anything to dispel that. Meghan never tried to dispel that this woman here, who was her mother, was the nanny. People just assumed it was the nanny. Oh,
Mm.
it's so foul the way she conducts herself in relation to. So I had to get that in because I didn't want it to fly because I haven't got it on my
Mm.
notes. So filthy, that behavior. It's so shady. Oh,
Lack of gratitude, very, very
sorry
ungrateful.
to interrupt you.
And
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
no, 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 you're right, you're okay, Catherine. And it's so disheartening to see that she had this stage to make a big difference and she just misused that opportunity. And now she is stepping out where she would have made a much more impact if she was still in. So that speech there did not convince anyone. And at some point, you could see her laughing at herself. She said, "Oh, yeah, I've hoped my little 3 years find a voice." And she laughed herself because she knew she was
She has
literally
got a
looking for
maternal
something
bone in her
to
body.
hold on. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And so for us going forward, we see a
Mm,
couple that is actually headed for just failure in these trips. Every time they step out there, it exposes them the more.
mm,
Body
mm.
language wasn't there at all. The chemistry, you could see the chemistry between them is literally non-existent. Okay.
Oh,
And obviously, I was reading online and how the Sussex says, Sussex.com, the squad, Sussex squad, trying to find something to hold on and say, oh, see how she is gentle, she's kind, she looks very beautiful, she does. But the thing is, no matter how she will appear out there in public, whether she's worn the most expensive outfit, she's worn the most beautiful shoe, whatever, people always go by what is inside of someone, and they know
mm,
that what is inside of Meghan Markle,
mm,
based on things she's been doing and how she treated the queen, when queen was still here, allegations,
mm,
people are not buying into her at all. Now she visits these schools in Colombia. Some of these schools are very poor schools,
mm,
these kids reading on, of course, the press in Colombia and the situation going on with the economy in Colombia.
mm,
She would You would have said that the right thing to do was to wear something that was going to be relatable, something which is going to be not flashy, but she turns up with jewelry worth 70, is it worth
yep,
75,000 or something,
yep.
She turns up with this outfit worth
It's
13,000.
breathtaking.
Yeah, very expensively worn. The outfit she wore the very first uh, stepping out with Harry, that little suit sort of with pants, apparently very expensive. Visiting kids who are probably having had breakfast
Mm,
or struggling to have dinner, and you're claiming to be relating with them, and people saw very conflicting messages between the ex-royals and the poor children they were visiting. Okay, so there is a lot of uh, lack of proper planning there, and of course the controversies and hypocrisy they carried themselves with on this trip, earlier on suggesting to us they couldn't come to the UK because of the security situation, and then they set out to Colombia, which is considered to be one of the most, risky places to visit. It is suggesting that these two really don't know what they are talking about. And the money the Colombian government allegedly spent on that trip, when these kids in the schools they are visiting are struggling economically, and the state is wasting that money on Meghan and Harry. This left people furious, apparently, in
Yeah,
Colombia.
yeah,
Okay. So it's very sad to see that things are moving, are going the way they are with these two, where they would have been making a big difference had they done this in the umbrella of the royal family, which had given them that stage. Okay, so we've got Paul says there, the children
yeah.
got.
Paul's fantastic comments.
Mm.
Go on, sorry.
It's got some good comments there. Paul says the children got left with milkshakes when Harry and Meghan went to
Yeah,
Dusseldorf. What if they got mission? you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I know. Hi,
yeah,
Teresa. Teresa's just come in and apologising for being late. No
yeah.
worries, as we say in Australia. No worries, love.
Yeah. No worries, Teresa. No worries. I know we're struggling to find the perfect time for these live streams. Because
Mm.
my friend Catherine is on the opposite time of the clock. So I've had to pull her from
Yeah.
Real in the morning. Yeah,
Oh, it's all good. I'm in such an early riser.
yeah,
My
yeah,
all my family members have their notifications. All of them, without exception, have their nighttime notifications on silence because I
yeah,
forget people are asleep.
yeah.
So I thought to myself, oh, I think that's for my benefit. But yeah, it's all good. We get it working. We get it working. Yeah.
And then did you see that clip where she gets up and goes and turns the fan towards her on stage?
Oh,
I don't know
so
if you saw that.
staged. Do you
I don't
know,
know how I
I
can pull
thought that
that
was
up, but
hilarious. That
every
was
time I try to pull a page up, it slows the network. So I'm struggling to pull those pages
yeah.
up. You saw that, didn't you?
Well, the thing is, she said in her speech, oh, us ladies are so powerful. We do whatever we have to do to fix something. We'll fix the fan, you know.
Yeah,
So it was so staged because it was already in her speech. Oh, we'll fix the fan. Oh my gosh, I'm really restraining my language here. She just moved a fan, a floor
yeah,
fan.
hmm,
She didn't get up on a chair and change a globe,
yeah,
on a 6 foot ceiling or the globes off a chandelier or something. My God, oh, this woman, she didn't make a set of curtains and then fit them to a really tall 6 foot window. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, this is ludicrous. We're in the realm of clown world there. She got up and did that because it was already in her speech. Oh, oh, I
It was
couldn't
very
stand it.
staged.
I
Yeah.
make it stop, Francis.
I did a TikTok video about it. I
Oh,
need to do a TikTok about it. It was very staged. Everything about this
oh,
lady here, Meghan Markle, tends to have a touch of acting and staging, and you
oh.
can see that it's always very far-fetched. And now she turns that fan looking into her. And how about the others who are in the room? Do you want them to, feel hot because you just want it
Oh,
all for yourself?
I'm just groaning talking about it. Even the fan has to pay
Yeah,
attention to her.
yeah.
Even the fan has to be watching and adoring her. Oh,
Absolutely.
it's just
And
ridiculous.
good question there, Princess Harlow. She says, but if the fan was meant for another purpose?
Oh, yeah, lift
Yeah,
up her skirt
you
and
know.
dry herself out.
But Paul,
Oh,
Paul also highlights here. I think we had also missed this one. Megan identified as Caucasian when she met Harry. Okay, she
yes,
did.
yes,
She
she did.
absolutely did. Yeah. And she said, I only knew I was black when I went to the UK. Okay, she was talking to a friend of hers in a taxi. I don't know if this was part of their Netflix documentary. And she said, I didn't know I was black until I went to the UK.
Ugh.
Okay, but if you were black, then why? Why did you feel offended when they were asking you about, when, because she said, "Oh, this color of my little girl, my baby's skin." They were questioning this. They gave me all these colors to wear for me to blend in and all of that stuff. You know, and then she, of course, had to find a reason, okay, to make us believe that she was being mistreated. And she had to play the race card. She had to play that card because she knows it is the sort of
It's all
card
she
that gets
has.
people to, feeling very sympathetic. So she just played that race card, okay. But you're very right, Paul. She didn't even think she was, a black woman back then. So why then is she coming across as, "Oh, I'm a black woman and I've always empowered them and I've done this"? Again, being hypocritic. Okay.
Well, I mean, she's speaking to a conference. It's about black women. It's like, what have you got to contribute to that? You don't. You straighten your hair. You know, that whole thing about, women straightening their afros. I don't really care if they want to straighten it, but she doesn't do anything to acknowledge her heritage except claim 47% Nigerian. And people want evidence of that, but she
Hmm.
won't. She won't provide it because she's not. We're all
Yeah.
we're all expecting her to say she's Colombian. She said, "Oh, I'm so relaxed on this trip." Oh, H said to me this morning, "Oh, you're so relaxed," and she said, "That's because you Colombians know how to party." Oh, yeah, like party with all sorts of things. This is like nonsense. She's just so ridiculous, so staged. How can anyone relate to this woman? And I can imagine what Harry saw in her in the beginning, but I don't know what anyone would ever see in a woman like this. I don't know. I don't know. And
Well,
she can dress any way she likes, but go back to the vice president. She was dressed conservatively. I thought she looked really nice. She obviously has a short waist, but she had her skirt under her bust, which is what a dressmaker would do for that body type. I thought she looked really lovely. But no,
mhm.
Meghan just has no sense of occasion. She
she
just,
just
oh,
she
she's
just
awful.
does, yeah. And
Awful.
she, of course, she should be having somebody who is advising her on issues to do with outfits. Go and read online, read about Colombia, do research on, okay, what sort of outfits, you know can I wear to sort of relate with their cultures. And then she turns up with this sleeveless outfit, and the body is all showing. The skirt is, long slit up there. At some point, she struggles to put it together. And that's why she had to cross those legs near enough all the time. And here is the vice president wearing that long dress. Okay, so surely she
Yeah.
wasn't taking advice, because I know they have a team that is advising them on what to wear and all of that sort of thing. But she chose to wear what she wanted. And Prince Harry, the standards have gone down. Prince Harry used to turn up wearing suits. Look at their visit to uh, there's that country they visited, the last one before they stopped being working royals. Was it Morocco?
I think
When
it was.
was
I
it
think it was
Morocco?
Morocco.
Where
Yes,
she wore that long
she
dress.
was pregnant. Yeah, and she had on
She
this
was-
Christian Dior. Oh,
Okay,
cost a
okay,
fortune. She looked,
okay. Yeah, so she had that
she
dress on and
looked
Harry's
pregnant.
suit and tie. You could see things were well coordinated,
Yes,
and
yes.
you know, and those standards have since slipped. To Harry now turning up wearing just a shirt. The shirt is not buttoned up to here; it's just buttoned up to here, so the chest is all out. And what is he showing? This is a professional trip. You're wrong, Harry. Where are the
Mm.
standards? Okay.
He looked like he was just wearing California casual.
Yeah,
I thought,
absolutely. Yeah.
and he looked
But that's what you
scruffy, but he
get.
always looks scruffy.
That's what you get being a husband to a woman who
Mm.
is like, Meghan Markle. But it's very interesting because you said, what did Prince Harry find in Meghan
I
Markle?
mean, the obvious, of course, but sort of that doesn't last.
Yeah,
That doesn't last long.
yeah. But Harry
Oh,
himself told us prior to the meeting of Meghan Markle, we saw that documentary. It's always there. These things will always be there. And he said, "Oh, I had a couple of pints and a glass of wine. And went to meet." So obviously, when you've had a drink, everything you're gonna look at is going to appear gleaming, isn't it?
exactly. Yeah, it's
So
just
this.
he gives himself away, doesn't he? He just, I thought it was really interesting. I was reading a thread this morning from, um, who's this? Uh, Roya Nika. She wrote an article about Prince Harry at 40. All he does is spend his time looking back. It's actually quite a well written article, but
Hmm,
it actually, someone said, someone was making fun of in the thread on Twitter, on X rather, what source, what inside source? You don't have an inside source. This is not journalism anymore where you can just rely on inside sources. We have
hmm,
spare. So
hmm,
I thought that was so fitting. This is what's the problem with the media, and they're always reaching. And royal commentators need to be careful. I'm talking about the YouTube crowd. They'll always reach for for something that's not verified or can't be verified because you're always looking for that little bit of extra juice.
hmm,
But this article, it's actually very good, but it actually also sounds to me like it's written from someone who supports Harry and wants him to come back home.
hmm,
And and it also doesn't sound like a repentant Harry who wants to come and grovel at his father's feet, which he needs to do.
hmm,
There are headlines suggesting that someone has said to Harry he needs to apologise, but he won't because he still believes he's owed an apology to his wife.
hmm,
So
hmm,
I don't see any area for movement with Harry. I can't see any movement there. This is a character problem. This is
hmm,
not a family problem. This is Harry's character. And
hmm,
I believe, sadly, in my reading of this situation, according to Roy and Nika, um, it sounds petulant and it sounds like he wants someone to come and save him. He wants his papa to come and rescue him and give him back his IPP status. And this is what Colombia is doing for us. Why won't you do this for us when I'm over in the UK? Well, Colombia comes in, there's 100 out of 165 countries. Colombia comes in at about 146. That's on the safety Richter scale.
hmm,
You know, uh, there's been some issues in the UK of late, and they've got a history of stabbings and but anything far from Colombia. It's
hmm,
nothing like
hmm,
Colombia. I mean,
hmm.
it's things are worrying over there in other respects, but Harry is not in a good place. In my opinion, he's got a lot further to go yet, and that's sad.
He's
That's
he's he
sad.
looks he looks very lonely, very, very lonely, and I
Yes.
think he's gone so far into this relationship that it
Mm, mm,
has come to the point of no return somehow. And
mm,
so he's made this bed and he's just going to lie in it. Um,
mm.
if he pulls away from Megan at this point,
Yeah.
obviously it's going to uh, then again think, right, they gave me a device and I refused it. So if I leave Megan, it will appear as if I've literally, you know, given myself in that, it was my mistake. So his ego is going to hold him
Yes.
from
Yes.
coming back to seek any help that would have helped him to to get back into his good books with people because they loved him so much they did, but because of all of these mistakes he's been making and this manipulation seemingly that we are seeing with him, Meghan Markle, of course, having him family in her grip, and isolating him away from his family. And so
Not
she's able
good.
to control what she can do with him there. And that's going to always be a problem for Harry. Okay.
I
And
can't see how he can break away. I
we
can't see him breaking away. I just can't. I She's got such a vice hold on him.
now we've got
Uh,
some good reactions here. This is so good. Chantel Martin, good morning. Chantel is from where? Canada. Good morning, Chantel. And so we've got a question here. Is a question? Paul says Meghan said she hadn't racist until she came to the UK. Yeah, UK. She had witnessed her mother being racially abused in the US. Good point
oh,
there.
rubbish.
Yeah, yeah, rubbish.
Do we believe it? Yeah.
We can't. Meghan Allegedly was heavily pregnant in Morocco. And then there is another question here. When is Charles going to take them off the royal family website?
Mm.
That is a question everybody is asking. And the other day we had a conversation about that, Lini, that probably King Charles is worried of Prince Harry's mental health if he sort of comes too harsh on him. So take him off the royal family website, strip him of those titles, because he's still his son. And he wants to be seen as a king who loves both his sons, regardless of the differences that are going on. So he's very careful not to come too harsh on Harry. And of course, he wants Harry to still survive out there. And the only way Harry can survive is when he still has those royal titles. And okay, so it's a very tough one.
He's in an
Oh,
invidious
yeah,
position,
yeah,
the king.
yeah. It's a very tough one for the king because he's playing the fatherly role and he has to again play the monarch's
Mm,
role.
mm,
And I
mm.
think for King Charles here, he's going to be plodding on with what we are saying, a bit of distancing himself from being seen with Harry, these meetings Harry's requesting, and maybe distance himself from these invitations of Harry to come and King's birthday parade. So we will see that line put there. Okay, for now, that's the sort of action we are going to see, I think, from the king. But if we are to
Well,
see real
yeah.
business happen with these titles being stripped off, royal family website stripped off, I think this could be William to take those steps. Okay, when William's time comes, what are your thoughts, Catherine? Is gonna.
Well, I think it's, I don't know, I think it was Princess who says it here.
Mm,
Uh, the optics for a father are very different to what they'll be as a brother for William, which is quite right. And no royals. Oh yeah, there's comments about other
yeah.
comments, but
Mm,
Princess is quite right about that because I mean I get frustrated over this issue because, and I believe it's been highlighted, particularly with this Colombia trip, because they've got a business link on their website is to their activities, it's to their business, it's to their tours, it's to the Archewell, it's to everything. Everything is funneled through that website.
mm,
And here we have, they're not even diplomats. Now, there's talk that the judge has actually, he requested the documentation um, in relation to Harry's visa application, and there is talk. There's rumbling going on online that it's actually an A1 visa. Now, if that's an A1 visa, that means he's been accepted into the country as a head of state.
mm,
But they're not over in Colombia as heads of state. Now, all of those photos that they released from their Colombian visit have got Archewell on it's copyright Archewell.
mm,
So they're funneling through to the royal family, and the family are allowing their business and their activities to be accessible through these links on their site. And I think it needs to be shut down because
mm.
this trip, the VP spoke about reparations and she wants some commission or something set up to her to discuss reparations. Well, I just feel that is an astonishing, like it really shows without that diplomatic backing of the country, they don't represent any country.
They
They
don't. They
just
don't.
don't.
They don't, and there is nothing meaningful that can come out of that
No,
visit
no.
for for Colombia, because these are just there as individuals who have no powers at all to support any causes of action for the good of Colombia, because
Yes.
the trip is not recognized by Britain. Okay, it's not. We didn't even have the ambassador for the UK in Colombia recognizing this trip. Okay,
No.
so it's like Meghan and Harry were just there, but they were not there representing any UK government. They just there, former royals. And I was looking at that invitation, the statement that the Colombian vice president issued the other day of why she invited Meghan and Harry. And I was expecting her to say something like, I've invited these two because obviously they are the members of the British royal family who have continued to make a difference. I was expecting her to talk along the lines of Archwell Foundation, which has made a lot of differences with supporting schools and young people and
Mm,
all of that. She
nothing.
didn't say any of that.
No.
Instead, she said, I watched Meghan and Harry and their Netflix documentary, and I thought, oh, this woman was great, and I related to
Yep.
her. So she was speaking from an angle of
Yep.
Netflix, Meghan and
Yep.
Harry. And we know how Netflix was literally
It was
lies and
propaganda. It was all
lies, and,
rubbish.
and we know how they were very, very they were throwing the royal family under the bus,
Mm,
those
mm.
Netflix documentaries. And these are the people you're inviting into Colombia because you loved their Netflix documentary. You're agreeing with them. You're agreeing with what they say. Okay. So that isn't going to look very well with UK. Okay. With UK, the government here and the royal family. Because you're inviting people in who lied against the royal family.
I actually think it's really serious
Yeah,
business, this.
yeah.
I don't think these tours, faux tours, can be dismissed easily. I think this Colombia trip in particular has really exposed
Mm,
um,
mm,
the vulnerability of um, the royal family because
mm,
this link on that website, this is how we got down on this discussion,
mm,
is supporting their activities. If I
mm,
put, like for example, on my YouTube page, I've got you as a featured channel down at the bottom. It's
mm.
because you and I are in collaboration. I'm not going to put a featured channel there of someone I
But
disagree
you
with or
don't.
someone
Mm,
I don't trust. So
absolutely.
why have they got this link? The public have got a right to question
To
this. And
question, yeah.
I believe this conversation about reparations is what it was all about. I believe,
Mm,
you know how they said that the Sussexes are being used. So where do they go from there? They
mm,
believe, and all they are is useful idiots for anti-monarchists, for people who
mm,
hate the monarchy. They
mm,
are. They're just useful idiots, and they're happy to be used because it's,
mm,
you know, supporting their agenda, to shut down free speech and blah de blah de blah. But I don't know. I just think this tour was really high stakes. I really took it into another level beyond. And in her speech, she said, oh, I'm just entering into my new chapter, my new period of joy, and as I move through the world, something like that, she said. That's her way of saying, get ready because there's going to be more of this.
More of these coming up. And
Yeah, there's going to be more tours.
but when you listen to her, she has just that one statement to say, and she just goes round and round it,
Yeah,
says the same thing with no real value in what she says, but she's got this way of saying things that is, you know, you listen into her and you think, right, okay, so what's coming up? What is she gonna say? And she finishes this talk without saying anything actually, apart from just going on around the same thing and going round.
exactly, Francis.
So everything is for me staged for these two. Whatever goes on behind the scenes, we will never know. But of course, I know for me by looking at how they behave and the people that are inviting them. So we know this woman, the vice president. Signal here. Here we're back.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Just
it's
cut
it's
out.
terrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's terrible signal today.
Mm.
Yeah, so we know that the lady who invited them, the vice president of Colombia, is she's very unpopular in Colombia. Apparently, we heard, and on many occasions, she's herself come under threat. Okay, so she's very unpopular, and now we know that these people flock together. Unpopular people attract unpopular people. So this
Yes.
is where the friendship probably
Yep.
developed. Okay. Because when you talk about inviting somebody because you loved what they said in Netflix documentary, that isn't a valid reason for, because there's nothing that was meaningful in that Netflix documentary. Okay.
Oh no,
So
it's vacuous, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And when I read that the other words, because she said, "Oh, she's made a difference in people's lives. She's been a voice to the voiceless." This was the vice president speaking in her statement. I sort of thought these are the same words Meghan Markle talks every day. These are the same things we hear her talk. Probably she even wrote that script, Meghan Markle, and sent it to this lady to write it down, to say it, to rehearse and say the same words on the day. Okay. Because we know Meghan is capable of doing that. Okay.
Oh
But there is nothing meaningful that is going to come out of
no.
those trips abroad. I don't see these countries benefiting from them, because these two are visiting as individuals who actually have no powers at all to effect change, no powers or positive relations they have with the British royal family that they can stimulate processes that are going to support those causes in these countries they are visiting, because themselves are no longer working royals and they are not recognized going out on those trips as representing the UK government. So, and this is where the Colombians were struggling to find the real importance of Meghan and Harry's presence in their country. What are they here for? What are they going to help us? They are no longer representing the British royal family, which has the funding that could help us, which has the visibility that would help us here. So, what are they here for? Actual Foundation, that they claim is doing a lot of work, has no record of real meaningful support they are giving to schools in these countries. It's a brand new foundation, someone says here. It's a foundation that is just existent on paper with no real meaningful relations established out there with the schools. Okay. So it is high time that the British royal family actually um, taps into these two and stop these from going on. Because I know when they go and visit these places, these countries, of course, who are they embarrassing? They're embarrassing the
Oh
British royal family, nobody else. Because I don't think if
yeah.
Meghan can feel embarrassed these days. She's not. She's used to this drama. She
Well,
rides
she
on.
has a brass neck.
Yeah, she enjoys this drama.
Mm.
She stands up and turns the fan against her. Okay, and she's like
Yeah.
catwalking on stage. Okay.
It's really, really quite. She's really, I think she's a bit mentally not quite there. What they do though, and it has certainly been the case, I think, with Colombia, they do draw attention to the place they're going to. But in this case, I mean, how many of us got online and started looking at the demographics and the crime rates of Colombia and started looking at the history of Colombia, a place that we'd never thought about prior to now.
Mm,
So
mm,
they do draw attention to the place, but it's
mm.
not all positive. It's anything but positive. I'm thinking, my God, no wonder they had 3,000 police. No wonder the locals are complaining because many of them that are complaining are street vendors who can't get out to go home, because
Mm,
everything is blocked off. And
mm,
there's a helicopter up above. They've got an ambulance and a big black security van parked outside their events. No one can move. No wonder the
mm,
locals are complaining. So they've
mm,
drawn attention to the place, all right, but I don't
mm,
think it's the sort of attention Colombia wants. But
mm,
we know what Colombia does want. They want reparations, and they've they've hosted visits. They had Sophie there last year, but she had the backing of the Foreign Office. She was, that they had an advance team. She wasn't there representing herself, so she was. They didn't need all of that kind of security. It's crazy town. This is a clown show. So no wonder locals are complaining because they're very poor. They can't earn any money. They don't even know if they're going to get home safely. But
mm,
their taxpayer dollars are being spent on security to keep these two clowns safe.
mm,
It's just
mm.
really absurd stuff. But
Oh,
I,
God.
I think I think the British public they're quite within their rights to stamp their foot and bang the table and say, we want that link taken off that royal website
They
because
will.
this can't continue. And what I also thought, apparently, according to reports, Prince William has said, he doesn't want his brother anywhere near his coronation, etc., etc. Well, that's a big deal. If the future king has said that, that's a really, really big deal because what
It
that
is.
means is there is nothing there for Harry. There will
Mm,
be no gifts. There will be no fresh titles. There will be no job. Look what happened when the king, after his coronation, Catherine and William were immediately um, anointed the
the
Prince and
Prince and
Princess of
Princess of
Wales.
Wales. Yes.
So for Prince William to say that, that's
Again,
his
it's
way of saying, don't expect anything from
don't
me now.
dare. You won't even be invited to that party. And it shows
Yeah,
the extent of the rift. It
yeah,
does.
yeah,
And we know that on numerous occasions, of course, we've been reading around these stories, with the question of whether they'll be attending the birthday parades or the king's coronation, where they will be sitting in the Westminster Cathedral, and how Prince William apparently was very, very strongly involved in the saying of these should not get seats anywhere closer to the other
yes,
royals. So apparently, he was heavily involved in allocating them seats far away.
yeah.
Apparently, he made it clear on the coronation day of King Charles that Harry will not step on that balcony. Okay, so
There's nothing there. And
yeah,
Princess is right,
yeah,
she's
mm,
very right. And I'm glad she brought it up because it's the lens that I see through, to use a Meghanism, it's the lens I look through. Um, she's right when she pointed out that it's very different for the king, who's a father, to than for the brother. Because brothers hold their brothers accountable. They do. No,
mm,
my father used to say, no one loves like brothers and no one hates like brothers. And there's
mm,
nothing worse than betrayal. It changes everything.
mm.
And it just really shows what's ahead for Harry. I believe that it's the future's not looking good for him. If he had any hopes, they've been dashed with those headlines.
Oh, they've gone since they've gone. I
Yes.
don't think there is any way back in. This That trust
No.
has already
No.
been broken.
Yeah.
And of course, we've also read stories recently that there is a summit going on at Sandringham. That summit is at Balmoral, where they are spending
Balmoral. Yeah.
the summer break, and that on the table things like stripping them off the royal titles and stripping them off the royal family website, those issues could be debated upon during this summit because they are very well part of the debates going on according to these sources. So clearly, the royal family might be silent now, in their
Mm,
actions, but behind the scenes, they are working out an action plan to put a stop to this whole thing that is going on. And the king always, and the royal family as a whole, of course, want to approach these cases from a very careful point of view.
mm, mm,
So we are waiting to see what is going to come out of this summit.
mm,
But
mm,
as you have said, with Prince William and Catherine's leadership looming,
mm,
there
mm.
isn't going to be anything for Prince Harry in the bag when those two step on that throne.
Forget about it. No shekels for you, honey. No,
Yes,
no
yes.
shekels from my brother. Forget it. You, after the way he's treated his wife, he bullied his daughter, and now Harry makes statements in the press through their mouthpieces that he wants to be very involved in the lives of Louis and Charlotte so they don't become a spare like him. Who wants an uncle like that around their children,
Nobody. Yeah.
filling their heads with his kind of negativity and doom and gloom? Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
They've got their Aunt Anne. They've got the Princess Royal. They can look to her to see what a stellar job as a spare can do.
Hmm. Well, thank you guys in the comments section
Mm,
below. Lightning Bug says she's late. Don't worry, we are here. You've caught these last bits of this live stream.
yeah, thank you.
We are always going to be here. I know that we are now just about to finish this live before this computer
Yes, lovely.
restarts. I've
Hmm.
got a message. This computer is about to restart.
Better go, better go. Yeah.
Yeah, so before it restarts or goes off, it's again great for us to say we are grateful for your time, guys. Thank you so
Yes,
much
thank you.
for keeping this comment section on fire.
Yes.
I think we've had a
I
fantastic discussion, Catherine, haven't we?
believe so. I believe it's
Mm.
been productive because
Yeah.
it's easy to really get down on Harry and Meghan, but I think the issues around them, the security, the disparity between the standard of living and their standard, I think we've covered, and it's that website, I think,
Mm.
needs to, that's a
The
really
website,
bit deal, I think, at the moment.
yeah, the website
Mm,
needs to get done
yeah.
with, get them off, get their link stopped on
Mm,
that website. People need more clarity on the role of Meghan
yes.
and Prince Harry. Why are they still
Yes.
featured? What is the
Mm.
royal family's take on these two
Thank you,
people?
Paul.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
So many
Thank you.
questions that need to be
Yeah.
answered with regards to Harry and Meghan Markle. But going forward, all of you, my friends who are still on here,
Yeah. Thank you
think
very much.
the future of Meghan and Harry, every time they step out and the more they do these things they do, is literally becoming slim and slim for them.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
they're digging their own hole every time they go ahead with these things. But on the positive note, before we wrap this up, is our dear Catherine, Princess of
I
Wales.
know.
Um,
Mm.
I know she's doing well. She is. We saw her last time. She is. She told us in that statement that she has her bad days and good days. She tries
Mm,
to make the most of the good days, and I think she will be back. We just need to be a little bit patient.
mm,
Okay, she will be back soon. And
mm,
of course, as for King Charles and his trip to Australia, with this summit going on in Balmoral in Scotland, I think part of what they are discussing about
mm,
is how to go about the trip. Is King Charles in good positions to travel the
mm.
distance?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if maybe he can't go for any reason, who is going to step out to represent him? Okay. So before they make that date definite, before they give us a definite date, I think they want to address issues like those. Mm.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was my reading of it as well. I mean, yeah, but people are starting to ask, but I've actually been just watching the headlines
Mm.
and it's, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a bit of a shot in the arm for the royal supporters.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
but if he's too ill to travel, what can we do? It's just,
Mm.
we just wait and see, don't we? And we
We just
hope
wait
and
and see.
we hope and pray for the best.
Yeah, we hope, whichever way it goes, we hope that King Charles does that trip because that will be,
Yes.
the highlight of his monarch, his reign.
Yes.
He hasn't gone to this big, big Commonwealth state since he stepped onto
Mm,
that
mm.
that throne. So this would be good for him, and maybe
I
if he goes
think
and
so.
comes back,
Yeah.
then we could see him start to take a step back and say, right, William, then take over. But it's looking bright. We are very hopeful that our royals, the royal family, is still very strong. William is very strong, and he has grown in resilience. Because these stories around uh, Prince Harry's pair memoir have only served to grow Prince Harry's resilience. Okay.
Well,
Prince William's resilience.
yeah,
Mm.
I think it's showing. I know that he gets a lot of criticism from different quarters, some people in the media that, he's lazy, he doesn't do enough, but he's got a lot on his plate. He's got a sick father. And I remember an
Sick
interview when
wife.
he was quite young, and he said, he was asked about it. He was very young and he was asked about his prospects. And he said, well, I don't like to think about it too much because it means that losing a parent, doesn't it? So I think William is carrying a heavy load at the moment, but I think he's executing it with poise.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
He's had such a difficult time. When he had
Yes,
to pull out from that wedding you're supposed to attend because his
yes,
wife, I think that would have been the day his wife was diagnosed. And then that was shortly after his dad had been, diagnosed, and he's having to look after the children who are still very young as well. Prince William is a very hands-on father. He
yes,
does
yes,
the drop-offs at school, the pickups. So he is having a lot on his plate. Later on, this pressure
yes,
that
yes.
of course Meghan and Harry are presenting against the royal family is the man to deal with that. And
Oh,
he makes
yes.
real crucial decisions behind the
Mm,
scenes, William does. So
mm,
this has made him grow into a resilient young man who is going to be a very,
mm.
very good king. I think he will be. And with Catherine besides him,
Yes,
future
yes.
of the British royal family is looking so bright, so
I
bright.
I I agree
Mm,
with you. I
mm,
agree. What
mm,
people are waiting for that. It doesn't mean that they want Charles to, fall off
mm,
the perch. That's not what
mm,
I'm suggesting at all. But people, they have a lot of promise. They have a lot of
mm.
promise. But again, it comes down to his choice of wife, doesn't it? William chose well.
He did. He did. The wife is very supportive.
Mm.
Now, guys, in the comments section below, thank you so much. Princess
Thank you,
says, don't
guys.
forget silly season rumors exactly that these
Yeah,
till they are not. Yes. Um, of course, the rumors being passed on in California. All these stories have an
yeah,
origin from California. It's the PR machine working very strongly on the side of the Meghan and
yeah. I
Harry's.
agree
And
with you.
yeah, every time a nice story comes up, they want to
Yeah.
bring a very terrible story about the royal family. And we see
Mm.
all these stories being put out that Catherine, William, they are looking for reaching out to olive branch to Meghan and Harry. Or those stories, don't believe in them, guys. It's the Sussex PR machine trying to spice up things to look as though the royal family is on its knees, begging these two for what? They've since been done with them. That much we know. And if Harry can't even be invited to his father's coronation ceremony, sorry, birthday parade, you know, you guys should know that they have since distanced themselves and they can't trust it anymore.
There aren't enough olive trees,
Yeah,
Princess. And
yeah,
I love that because, I was thinking
yeah.
when Francis said that, I was thinking I can just hear all the Italian, um, all the growers of the vineyards seeing Megan coming. Don't let her come near us. She'll ruin our vineyards.
Mm.
Oh, how many olive branches can you? Oh, look, the woman. I just think the
That's the
woman's
island
bonkers.
branches. Yeah.
Olive
Right.
branches. Nice one, Princess. That's a great note to finish on.
What a beautiful way to end our live stream tonight. But
Yeah,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much, guys. Thank you, Catherine, and please subscribe to Catherine's channel. Is Arroyo Iota Catherine?
Correct. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah. Please
a
subscribe.
royal IOTA,
Yes.
IOTA.
Now,
Thank you very
Catherine,
much. Thank you
Catherine,
for
when you
having
come,
me.
oh, always such an honor, Catherine. And of course, when we catch up on these stories, we sort of try to show our, uh, you know, lovely loyal base we have here that, we are
With the
very much.
king. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yeah. The king there, of course, they traveling to Australia soon. But when we come and talk about these things here, we are calling them out constantly to try and
yeah.
tell people, listen, let this not tarnish the good image of the royal family. The real royals who love the community and who are doing great things out there will soon be back. Okay.
Yeah,
So
well, thank you so much. I really, and
please
great
subscribe,
chat.
guys.
Yeah,
Subscribe if you're not yet.
and
Subscribe to
we'll
check if
see
you're
you again.
still. Yes, because
Yeah.
YouTube is unsubscribing people of late. Please check if you're still subscribed and keep that support coming for both of us.
Okay. All right. Good night, Francis.
And
You
you
sleep
too.
well.
And
And
you too. And
bye
everybody,
bye. Bye
guys,
bye,
thank you so
sweetie
much. Bye
darlings.
bye. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Yeah.